All right, Gun Rising, everyone. Welcome back to another sunny Sunday of the One Great I Am Awakening. I am Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and with me is my partner in spirit and in mind, Mr. Gregory Isaac Thomas. Actually, I don't see him yet. He's actually double tasked, double doing a dual task. He's actually working at the moment, but he should be joining us momentarily when he gets a chance to do so. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and introduce today's topic, introduce our audio, our video, and get the show on the road. I'm also going to read from this very important book, or interesting book, um, Neville Goddard Interpretation of Scripture. So I have a section in here I wanted to read and stuff like that. But so let's introduce today's topic. As aforementioned, is that truth need not conform to external facts to which it relates. All right. Truth need not conform to external facts to which it relates. What is that saying? It is saying that basically talking about our five senses need not um, conform to what it's observing or what they are observing. Your sight, your hearing, your tasting, your smelling, your touch. It needs not to conform to what is observing at the time based on your truth. What is your truth? Your truth is your current desire. That is the only truth and nothing else about it matters. Okay? So let's play this audio from Neville. It's a very short one. And Neville is going to explain his plight, his so-called facts that he was facing, external facts, that is, that he was facing. And he was still aware of how to, you know, externalize what he desired to externalize rather than what he was observing at the time or what he was told. All right. So let's get to that audio or that video, and we're going to come right back to discuss our findings. So let's share that and find this audio. I believe this is it right here. Here it is. All right, so let's take a listen. It says, we are victimized by facts. All right, this is the heading right here for this audio, but the subheading says, ignore the facts to get what you want. This is an actual Neville Goddard lecture, but a shortened version of it. So let's take a listen to Neville, and we'll be right back.
The facts have overflowed the world like the flood. Man actually is drowned with facts, victimized by facts. It is in the imagination that everything lives, and not in its actuality, not in the fact. Unless imagination penetrates the fact, the deluge remains a deluge. We are now in the deluge. This is the flood. A man is in jail, that's a fact. And he knows he's there for X number of years, that's a fact. And he simply waits and hopes that in some strange way that he will get some early release from this confinement. He never uses his imagination, save in some violent way to get out, but to penetrate the fact. When in March of 1943, by using my imagination to penetrate the fact that I too was in prison in the army, but I didn't want any part of it. And so I simply penetrated the fact and saw myself in New York City in my own apartment with my family. And in 9 days, I was out honorably discharged in my apartment in New York City. So I wrote a friend of mine who was in the army. He was my age. He was a Freudian, a professional psychoanalyst. But Freud was his background. That was his schooling. And when I wrote him in detail exactly what I had done, I didn't mince matters. I told him exactly what I did. How as I simply physically slept on my little bed in the barracks, I imagined I was simply elsewhere, and the elsewhere was a definite spot in space, in New York City, in my apartment. And what I did, I could feel the bed, I could feel the things in my house. I went about feeling all the familiar objects in my apartment, and I gave them all the tones of reality and all sensory vividness to the best of my ability. And I touched everything, and it felt real. Then I went back to sleep, and then I told them exactly what happened to me that morning. And then 9 days later, I was honorably discharged by the same man that had disallowed my application. He didn't answer my letter. Because in New York City, he used to come to my meetings as a friend, because he was so convinced that the Freudian concept was true. But he said, I come to your meetings for this reason, Ethel. We knew each other well. He'd come home for dinner, I'd go to his place for dinner, but he said, I come to your meetings because you turn my daily bread into the substance of fairy. I sort of like that, he said. But when I listen to you, I hold the chair, and I put my feet right firmly on the ground to feel the reality and the profundity of things. You aren't going to take me away with you. You're going to leave me right here where things are solidly real, so I feel the place under my foot, and I feel the things next to my hand, and I hold on tightly as you weave your story concerning moving off in one's imagination. So he would not penetrate the facts. So when did he get out? When the other millions got out. So he remained with his facts for the next 3 years. I got out in March of 43. He came home to New York City in 46. Demobilized as the other millions and millions of boys were. He could not let go of the facts. This is the flood. No other flood. This is the flood. We are drowned with facts, victimized by them.
All right, that's promised. That was a short audio of Neville Goddard's actual lecture, wherein he was talking about when he considered it prison. He said he was imprisoned in the army in 1943. He was in the military. He told the story on another tape. I listened to it in more in depth, and he mentioned that he was drafted into the army. Um, I believe how old Neville was at the time. Um, Near 30, in his 30s, something like that. He was drafted late in the military and did not want to be there. But Neville knew that he only ended up in the army or in that state because somehow, some way, he was in that state of being or feeling. Not necessarily maybe didn't even say, I do not want to be in the military. Or I hope I don't go into the military. He probably was not even thinking it in that sense. But him knowing consciousness, knew that the reason why he's there is because he put himself there. And if you put yourself there, you can take yourself out. All right. It's like a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. All right. So if you put yourself there, most of the time you do not know how you did it or when, but that does not matter. All you need to know is that you're the one who did it, period. And that truth is what will set you free. Um, so knowing that, Neville um, put his imagination to the test. All right, put his imagination to the test. And you heard what he said there was that first he tried to do it, the physical way by writing to the higher eds that he wanted to be released, but he also said he did not want to be released. Um, what do you call it? He did not want to be wanted to be a dishonorable discharge. He wanted to be an honorable discharge. So he was naming or making a decision or deciding on how he wanted to be discharged. He didn't just want to leave. He wanted to be discharged in a particular way where it wasn't disruptive or looks bad on his reputation. So he wrote, that he wanted to be discharged and tell him things like, he did not want to be there and so on and so forth. And I mean, he was not a young 18-year-old like most people. He was older now, um, and stuff like that. So they denied him. They denied him. So he said, well, all right, that didn't work. So I'm going to use my imagination. I'm going to use my power, you know, and set myself free. So as you heard, he had his other friend who was also in the military with him. He ended up staying there the entire time that he was allotted to stay, 3 years or something like that. And so the reason why he stayed there that long was because he did not see any way out other than the facts that he was facing. So here are two people facing the same facts. The fact is that they're imprisoned in the army, according to Neville. It's like a prison, right? Because you can't just get up and leave. And if you do so, you're going to be arrested and court-martialed and all the different things you face, right? So he did not want that to happen. So these two guys, how interesting is it that they're both facing the very same obstacle, if you want to call it that, but one saw it as a fact that it was hardened, it was solid, it was fixed, there was no way to change it. It is what it is, right? Neville, on the other hand, said, no, my imagination is the only fact. And whatever I say it is what it will be. All right. So he proceeded to use his imagination to put himself in New York, where he's from. And he said he went to a particular place, he, lay in his bed every night, pretending he was in his actual bed in New York City. He would walk the streets of New York City. He would hold on to a chair or something physical that he would touch in his imagination. Now, the reason why I never used touch, out of all the five senses, touch is the most profound of them all. All right. Um, touch, which is related to feeling, um, the physical feeling something. Um, it's also related to the inner feeling, your emotional state, okay? How you're feeling. So the two correlates, okay? Because whenever you're feeling good or feeling that you are in the wish fulfill or you're experiencing the wish fulfill, when you have that certainty, that feeling, whatever feeling that, and we're gonna do it one of these days, a lesson on that, the law of reversibility. If you're feeling good because something is, you're having the experience of something, then the same is true if you feel, if you're not having the experience, but you feel as if you're having the experience, then the law will cause you to have the experience. Anyways, the law of reversibility is you're feeling good now because of an experience you're having. So what if you garner the feeling and you're not having the experience, but you're having the feeling as if you are having the experience, you know? In other words, you are living in the end from the very beginning. And in doing so, then that feeling must in turn bring the experience, as if when the experience brings the feeling. So that's the law of reversibility right there. So Neville was just practicing that law in his imagination by saying, if I'm in New York, if I put myself in New York, if I feel like I'm in New York, if I touch something that I normally would touch, like my bedside or my chair or the television or a spoon or um, the refrigerator, acting as if I'm going in the refrigerator, anything like that, then doing so must reverse, must give me the reverse, must give me the actuality, must put me in that state in the flesh, wherein I will have the experience in the physical that I was having in my imagination. And so that is what Neville proceeded to do. And he said, I think he did it for like 9 nights straight or something like that. Interesting. Nine is the number for consciousness. But on that ninth time, he received a letter. 9 days later, he said, when after he began the act, 9 days later, he received a letter from that same higher up who gave him his wish and discharged him honorably, and he was able to go home. Did not say what reason they came up with, what purpose. But what's interesting here is that, you know, never first tried to do it with the conscious mind by deciding what he wanted and then proceeding to get it done consciously. Um, by talking to the people and telling them there is plight, and they denied him. Now, he did not try to force it by saying, "Okay, I'm going to write one more letter. I'm going to go to another higher up, or I'm going to pretend I am hurt, or I'm going to do something sinister to force their hand." He did not do that. Neville went inward into his imagination, which is the only fact. Okay, that's the only thing that is factual. No, in order for that to work, Neville had to also initiate um, his faith. Faith meaning accepting it as true. That's what faith really is for, is to accept a particular circumstance or instance or desire as already being true. You understand? It's like it's easy to attempt to go to something or somewhere or someone that you already know that exists. So faith is not needed. You know that traveling to your friend's house, that you know where it is at or they exist. Um, Even if you've never been there before, it's your first time going, you know the person exists. You know the person to be your friend. So um, you trust their direction or whatever the case may be. You don't have any disbelief or uncertainty. The only uncertainty you would have is if you're going to get there either on time, depending on what the occasion is for, or if you're going to get there safely or whatnot, right? But other than that, you have complete trust and certainty that you're going to make it. Um, Especially if it's somewhere that you've been many times, right? But faith is something different. Faith is the substance you hope for without any evidence seen. Okay? You have no evidence, no pre-knowledge, no promise of any kind that this thing exists or that it's a certainty. You've never done it before, never seen it. It's your first time or first attempt. But faith works also more so when you have done some things, little things over and over, small wins they call it, wherein you use your imagination and whatnot, and these things work. So you know it works, but at the same time, depending on the desire or the circumstances, whatever that might be, you might find it challenging to exercise your faith the same way. It's like you are confident in lifting um, a 5 gallon bottle of water, but you may not be confident in lifting a 50 gallon um, because maybe you've never done it before and you don't feel like you're that strong. So you don't have the confidence, which is really faith in the ability to do it. Um, However, if you persist in trying or in the attempt, then you eventually will. So faith is really something that requires persistence. You're going to realize that even though you have faith, it does not mean that the thing desired is going to happen instantly or as whenever you desired it to be. Um, so faith is something that requires persistence, perseverance. It's not going to just give you your desire like that. This is just how consciousness works. All right. There are things that you have to overcome, so to speak. And so the best way to use your faith is to put it at the end. See yourself in the end. Don't see yourself going through the many different things that you may have to encounter. You have to go ahead of those things. Pretend, imagine that you are already in the state desired, having the experience, and then doing so consistently, meaning in a number of days, maybe even weeks, you are still holding this conception within yourself that you are having the experience. You're in the place, you're in the state of being. Um, and it's something that you live in that state, consciously. You're in that state and you do it a number of times. Eventually, the way that it's going to happen will manifest or present itself. You understand? So it will present itself on how it's going to work. But you have to do your part. And that's what Neville did. Neville imagined having the experience that he desired. He desired to be back home in New York. And he never looked at where he was and wondered to himself, but I wonder how. I'm 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 on a contract, so to speak, for 3 years, 4 years, whatever, in the military. I cannot leave just anytime I want to. I have to wait on my release. Um, if I leave without permission, I'm going to be court-martialed. And he did not look at all those things. He simply went ahead in his imagination. He lived in the end from the very beginning. Did that for 9 nights straight or something like that until it moved the higher ups to give him his wish. Okay? It moved them to do it, even though they had denied him. And once they denied him, never God could have easily said, accepted the denial, by his hearing. That's something that he would have heard. No, you cannot go. You're denied. Or something he would have seen in writing. No, you cannot go. So, he did not allow the fact, which we're saying today, truth, which is whatever you desire, you know, truth need not to conform to external facts. Okay? It need not to conform to external facts. It need not conform to what the five senses convey, because your five senses will rob you. Interestingly, Neville was using his five senses, but he was using it in his imagination. That is the difference. You can use your five senses, but you have to use them, like Josiah Brand says, wisely. You have to imagine wisely. You cannot believe something is possible and then you turn to your five senses to show your proof of how it is possible. You cannot use your five senses to show your proof. This is what scripture was talking about. The Jews were always looking for signs, looking for signs. Who was it? Mm, I think it was Thomas, who did not believe when he heard the news that Christ was risen. Christ here would represent your desire, whatever it is to save you, right? Christ means Jehovah saves. I mean, Jesus means Jehovah saves. So he did not believe that Jesus was risen. So he anyway, he saw him, I guess, on the street, and he said, Master, our Lord, is that you? And Jesus said, Yeah, man, I mean. And he said, Yeah, but how that possible? How did you rise from the dead? Let me touch you. Let me see if I can touch you. And let me see the wounds in your hands. Let me see if I can put my finger on your wounds or whatever. Let me see if it's real. Now, this is exaggerated drama. We all here know that the Bible is not true. Is true, but it's not real, you know. It's not history, but the stories in them are truth, telling you of a truth about consciousness, right? About how your mind works. But this is a demonstration of how our conscious mind works. The conscious mind, Thomas, this is Thomas, who represents the conscious mind, an aspect of the conscious mind. Um, they call him Thomas the doubter, right? So your conscious mind is going to doubt until it can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, until it can see the way of how something is going to happen. Okay, that's what the conscious mind does. It doubts. It works by what I'm saying. I'll believe it when I see it. That's the conscious mind. The subconscious mind says, I will see it because I believe it. So that's the difference between the two minds. So Jesus represents the subconscious, and Thomas right there represents the conscious. So you see the contrast and the contradiction. Just an example to show you that how the duality of the mind, one conscious, one subconscious, how they are in contradiction of each other um, most of the time. So Jesus said to him, say, but hold on, um, it is me, it is I. you know, and he said, "Blessed are those who does not see, but yet they believe." So he was basically, throwing words at Thomas, saying that you only believe because you were able to touch me and see me. But they had to demonstrate that with Thomas because his particular um, personality, or in this case, personification of the mind, is the part of the mind that doubts until it gets proof that this thing exists. So that was demonstrating that Jesus had to discipline Thomas right there and then. It was a test to see if Thomas would pass, then he failed. You understand? Thomas represents you, the reader, reading the story. All right? That if read correctly, that Jesus represents your desire, what it is that's coming to save you. Um, do you believe? Do you believe in your desire, that your desire exists, that is possible? Are you working by sight or by hearing or by tasting, smelling, and touch? Or do you have to exercise all those before you believe what you see? Believe that you'll have it? Are you one of those who only believe it after you see it, after you can touch it to see if it's real? And that's all that part of the story was demonstrating, that if that's all you work, you're not going to see anything because you will never exercise your imagination, because only your imagination is going to bring it to you, the thing that you have not seen and yet you believe. And that's what he was saying to Thomas. Blessed are those who have not seen, but yet they believe. You know, he was demonstrating to don't work by the five senses. Don't wait until you see evidence, external facts that the thing is happening, because you are not going to see it. Because your five senses are going to just show you anything and everything that will deny the evidence of it coming. Trust me, you're gonna see, all you're gonna see is evidence everywhere that denies it, no matter how you slice it. So you cannot use your five senses externally. You have to use your five senses internally. And that's what Neville was doing. So though you're told not to judge by appearance, meaning to use your five senses on what's appearing, it did not say to not use your five senses to design your desire, because that's what your five senses do. They do design what you intend to have or experience. Okay? Because you're able to see inwardly using your imagination. So you are experiencing by sight in that sense, but this sight is more visualizing. Okay? That's the difference. Some people live by sight, some people live by vision. Scripture tells you, my people die or perish because they lack vision. So you have to use your vision, not your sight. You have to look inwardly. Okay? Then you can use what Never was doing inwardly or internally by tasting something that you've always longed to eat or ate many times, but this is you in jail or wherever, in that sense. Just use that example. And you long to taste your mother's cooking. It's been 5 months or 5 days or how long you've been in, and maybe even 5 years, and you're just now coming to this truth, and you say, Well, I mean, my mother used to cook that rice and peas, or used to cook that pudding or whatever, and you remember the taste, and you remember watching her cook it and or bake it and the pudding or cook the rice and peas or whatever. You're just visualizing all these things. You remember hearing how the chicken was frying, or you remember hearing, what she was saying to help her with, pass me this, pass me that, do this, do that. You're garnering all these five sensory within five senses in your imagination. You know, you're activating all of them if possible. You're seeing what's going on, you're hearing what's going on, you're smelling the food, you're tasting the food, and you're touching it. You're sitting down around the table. You're doing all these things within your imagination, but you have to be consistent. You have to persist in the wish fulfilled. The more you do it, is the more you're impressing upon your subconscious mind that you accept it, that you consciously accept it to be true. The only one that you're trying to convince, is yourself. You're trying to convince your conscious mind. The subconscious mind um does not need to believe. The subconscious mind only needs confirmation from you that this is what you truly desire. Once you confirm that, the subconscious mind um, find ways and means on how to get it to you. So you're just impregnating the subconscious with your acceptance, with your conviction of the thing you desire. Okay? You're not trying to convince no God out there in the sky or God or your consciousness. You're not trying to convince your consciousness. You're trying to convince the one desiring this. The conscious mind is the mind that desires. That mind is very stubborn and works only by what I'm call it by evidence of the thing manifesting or coming. Okay, does not work by vision and none of this type of stuff. It needs to have some kind of external facts that this thing is happening. And if it doesn't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it, it does not believe. So you have to discipline the conscious mind, who are represented by the 12 disciples. Okay? That's who your conscious mind represents, the 12 disciples. The subconscious mind is your savior. And you have to be careful what you impress upon your subconscious mind, because whatever you impress upon the subconscious mind, that's what it's going to give you, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. So if you only work by sight or work by the five senses, you are still impregnating the subconscious to give you more lack of evidence, because your senses are telling you it's not happening, it's not happening. Once the subconscious is impressed by that awareness or by that so-called fact, it's going to give you more reasons or more contradictions as to what you are seeing or what you believe that you're seeing. So it's only going to produce more and more. That's called um the thing there, the the law of attraction. You are attracting whatever it is that you're feeling or believing. That's what you're attracting. You're going to get, you see, what you really want and really, really, really want or really, really desire. Okay? You're going to get it. And what you really, really, really don't desire or don't want, you are going to still get it. It doesn't matter if you want it or don't want it. Whatever you're focused on is what you get. That's the law of attraction. All right. And so this is what people don't understand. Say, yeah, but I didn't want that. And I still got it because that was your focus. Either by actually consciously focusing on it or having the feeling. Whatever the law of reversibility that I spoke about earlier. If you feel a certain type of way that an experience will give you, then that feeling will give you the experience. The law of reversibility. Again, if you feel a certain type of way, it doesn't mean that you're thinking of the experience, but you have the feeling of a particular experience that will give you the feeling. You have the feeling, and there's an experience out there that will give you that exact feeling, whether it be anxiety, fear, stress, um, you know, um, lack of energy, whatever you're feeling, you know, there is an experience out there that matches that frequency, even if the experience never even came to your mind, not even close, not even in your wildest dream, you thought that you would ever have that experience. But you see, the feeling precedes or supersedes the experience because the experience is outward, the feeling is inward. The experience is only matching what's going on within. So you have to understand all of these concepts of the mind that you are always entangled with, but you have to be conscious of when you are entangled with them. Therefore, you can control the length of the entanglement, so to speak, you know, and you can um, arrange your mind a certain way so that the way the mind is arranged, either be by feeling or just by what you're imagining, the outward experience will match that as you have desired it to be. You have to be conscious of what you're always feeling or thinking. That's why they call this what we do consciousness or becoming conscious because we operate 95% of our being operates subconsciously. All right. Meaning that we just act. We don't think about anything. We're just doing things. We're just acting based on, you know, the environment and us, whatever experience we've had before. And we believe, once this happened, it's going to happen again. Or we have all these conceptions of ourselves. So you are acting based on past events and so-called facts. You don't know that you are the one that caused these things in the first place in the past, and also, going forward, you're the one still causing them. You don't know that. So you're thinking that these are just random or coincidence and are just so-called fate, that these things must happen regardless of your understanding of or lack thereof. So you don't know that you're in control, that you have the joystick, so to speak. It's just that you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So you're all over the place. But you're the one who still has a joystick. It's just that you're working in a subconscious or unconscious state, not being aware of what you're doing. The crowd goes that way, you go with the crowd. They turn on the news, you turn on the news. You hear some wars going on, you're in tune. You're all over the place. Wherever the crowd goes, you go with it. You have no individuality. You don't have any control of your own mind, so you're being led, and that's all a subconscious behavior. But when you become conscious, you pick and choose now what you listen to, what you pay attention to, because energy flows where attention goes. All right. Your attention is your currency. Okay. And the energy is what you buy with the currency. It's what you buy with your attention. So you're buying the energy with the amount of attention that you spend. You understand? So the more you spend on things in terms of your attention, the more of it you're going to get. Just like money, the more money you spend is going to give you the equivalent. Can't give you less. It's always going to give you the equivalent, and in many cases more. You know. So you have to watch what you attend to, and you can only do that if you're conscious of consciousness of how consciousness works. If you're conscious of the law of vibration, conscious of the law of cause and effect, conscious of the law of attraction, the law of reversibility. If you're conscious of all these laws and not just willy-nilly in around, you will have better control, better outcome in your life. You're not going to be so-called perfect now, wherein nothing ever happens or out of kilter, because we still have the human aspect, which is partly the conscious mind that goes off um, from time to time, out of connection or attention to what's going on and get caught up. May either be your feeling. Most of the time, it's your feeling. It's never really what you're imagining. A lot of time, it's feelings. And when you carry a feeling for so long, as I said earlier, it must match some outcome that will, kind of interrupt your whatever you got going. But when you're conscious that these things are happening because it's not nobody else. Once you know the truth, it sets you free. So when you see something that is off, or just randomly, if you want to use that word, just out of the blue, as we would say, happen, you know it's not a coincidence. You know, somehow, somewhere, you're at the forefront of it, meaning that you're the one who's in front of it. You head it. You're the head of that outcome. You caused it. There's no, well, that's denying it or arguing it. If you do, you're only going to continue to repeat it. It's going to be perpetual. You're going to continue this loop. But once you recognize that this is my fault, this is me, I'm the cause, then you're able to uncause what you have caused. Until that truth is identified and accepted, you just perpetuate these things. And that's what we see going on in the world, where these things are perpetual because nobody have been told repetitively that you are the cause. We are told repetitively that it is always the government, is always the president, is always this part, that party, this person, that person. It's this and that and the third. We've been told all these things perpetually so that we will never become aware of the truth. And the truth is what sets you free. So today we're talking about, truth need not conform to external facts. Okay? What is the truth? Your truth is what you are desiring at this particular time. You know, that is your truth. Um, as I promised earlier, let's read this from this book. Um, Titled Neville Goddard's Interpretation of Scripture, Unlocking the Secrets of the Bible. All right. I love this book. It's amazing. Um, what this part say right here, so uh you believe in God, believe also in me. Um, in other words, it's the me within you that is this God. I posted something in the room earlier with Morgan Freeman. It was I believe in God and I believe in me. Same person, you know? But you guys should click on it and read some of the comments. It's gone over a lot of people's heads. But if you believe in God, you're believing in yourself. Okay? Um, but we're not privy to that truth because we're not consciously aware that the me spoken about in scripture, thou shalt have no other God before me, or I am, um, you know, is the name of God. Can you say I am about yourself and be talking about anyone else but God? If you use the word or the context, I am, it's not that different. I am, it is the same, you know. You cannot say I am and not be talking about yourself. So if you say I am is the name of God, then when you say I am, who are you talking about? You know, you must be talking about you, the infinite, the awareness of being. The irony is you're not aware. That's who you're talking about. You think this awareness is separate and apart from you. You don't understand the correlation or the connection, between your flesh state and the awareness of being. So let's read this and see if we can align that correlation right there. So it says, you believe in God, believe also in me. In other words, it is me, it is the me within you that is this God. Okay. He shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The truth that sets man free is the knowledge that his consciousness is the resurrection and the life. That is consciousness both resurrects and makes alive all that he is conscious of being. Okay. Oh, Mr. Surti just joined. Surti, are you still? He's probably still busy. Just listening. Just raise your hand if you're able to join in at any time. Um, Apart from consciousness, there is neither resurrection nor life. When man gives up his belief in a God apart from himself and begins to recognize his awareness of being to be God, as did Jesus and the prophets, he will transform this world or his world with the realization that I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. What does that mean? The I here is what you are aware of. Okay? Consciousness is aware of a particular thing. Whatever that particular thing is, that is the I that is mentioned there. I and my Father is consciousness, the totality of awareness. I consciousness, I'm aware of all things, anything, but all that which I am aware of being, I am greater than they. I'm greater than everything because I am the conceiver who is ever aware of being something. These things I'm aware of being are not greater than I or greater than me who is aware of them. Because why? It says it right here. that your consciousness is the resurrection and the life. So if your consciousness resurrects and gives life, then nothing it resurrects or gives life to is greater than it. And all the things that you are aware of being, these things are perceived to be dead. So they have to be resurrected. Everything that you experience, you resurrected them. You brought them into your life. You gave them life. And they will remain alive as long as you're conscious of them or conscious of being them. So it says, he will know that his consciousness is God, and that which he is conscious of being is the Son, bearing witness of God the Father. The conceiver and the conception are one, but the conceiver is greater than his conception. It is saying there to you that whatever you're conscious of is the Son. Um, you have a desire, you have a feeling. Either way, if you have a feeling, if you have a particular desire, a vision, something that you're contemplating, having, doing, experiencing, partaking in, that is the Son. And when it manifests, it is then bearing witness. All right? It is bearing witness of the consciousness which resurrected it or gave it life. You understand? So when this story in the parable book, as Sir T like to call it, in the New Testament, where Jesus was always talking about, I bear witness of my Father. I think it was Philip, one of them asked to see the Father. I think it was Philip. And Jesus said to him, say, Philip, you really are asked to see the Father and you be with me all this time? How is it that you're with me all this time and you're asking to see the Father? Don't you know when you see me, you see the Father? These are some confusing things that Jesus would say in the book, and it goes over everybody's head, mine included, as to what the hell is this man talking about. But no, we understand that when you see a desire manifest that you consciously knew that you had, that desire is bearing witness of what you had previously desired. It is the witness now. You understand? It's bearing witness. It is showing you that, oh my goodness, the thing that I had desired, consciously desired, that I knew I did, it has confronted me. It is here. It's bearing witness of my contemplations, my feeling, my imagination. It's bearing witness what I had in mind. It is no proof that what I had in mind or desired, I'm the one who caused it. Therefore, I and what has now manifested in my world are one. It has to be one because it could never come unless I desired it. I caused it. So now it is here. It is proof that I and this idea became one. And we are one. That's the only way it can come. If you use your own worldly experiences with having your children, right? You have a child, the child comes out looking just like you, maybe even laugh like you, talk like you, walk like you. Lately, my wife been teasing me that I talk like my father or laugh like my father. Or some of my gestures are like him. I didn't even realize it till she pointed them out. My friends tell me the same thing. I don't even see it. But when I do it, they say, that's the same thing your father would say. You laugh like your father, or you talk like your father, or your statements, you know. Um, so you have a resemblance. Why them use the word resemblance? It is a coming again. It's the same thing. It's doing it again, you know. Resemblance. You resemble your father, you resemble your mother. It is the origin come again. Okay. But my father is greater than I because I come from my father. You understand? But we are one. I don't come here unless I came from my father in terms of my sex, me being male. There's no way around it. I'm only male because I came from my father. Okay? And I end up resembling my father because I came from my father. We have the same genetics. We might have different personalities, but same genes. You understand? That's why the seed bring forth the tree, and then the tree bring back the seed. It is showing you that it is one with the tree, and the tree is one with it. It has to bring back the same thing from which it came. And I'm doing the same thing as my father and mother. I'm able to produce children because I'm made in the image and likeness. You understand? I'm made with the same power, the same abilities to do the exact same as was done for me or to me. So you are always one with your conceptions, whether they are good, bad, or indifferent. You're always one with them. Okay? And you who is conceiving, you're always greater than your conception. And that's a good thing to know because if you're greater than them, whatever it is you conceived or manifested, you can undo it because you are greater. That's all that really means. It does not mean that you are not one with the thing or the thing that you see is not you. It is you. But the operation in which it happened, the office, like Neville like to call it, the office from which it's operating from, meaning that there is a head, there's a beginning, there's a part of the whole that is above the whole thing. There's a part of the one thing that is above. You understand? That heads everything that happens. There's a head that's in charge. That without that head, without um that first make without that making the first move or the first thought or whatever, nothing happens. But whatever happens is still that thing manifesting as that thing, as that form, as that vision, as that experience. It's the same thing that's becoming externalized, that is being reflected or projected. Same thing. You understand? It is identical. It's just that you're not aware that you know you're matching frequencies. It looks it looks different. It's a water bottle or a telephone or a laptop or whatever. It looks different, you know, than what you perceive this consciousness or God is supposed to be. This consciousness, sorry teacher, there's only one thing in existence, different versions of the same thing. Exactly. As Never God it also says that, the mind is not many. It's one mind, you understand? But you might have a man who arranges mind to be in poverty. Another mind arranges the mind to be wealthy. Another mind arranges the mind to be sick. Another mind arranges the mind to be healthy. I just see a mind just being arranged differently. It's like you put the same water in five different vessels, all of them with different shape. So they must take the shape of the water. But the water, all of them are the same water. But the vessel or the what do you call it now, the mold in which it is being poured into, it is it is it is it is it has to take that shape. It cannot take any other shape than which the vessel has. Your mind cannot take any other shape than which the state of being that it is occupying. It is not possible. When people say, "Why nothing not impossible to God," well, yes or no, because you are God. Your awareness of being. And if you're being a certain state and think it's going to give you something else, you have another one coming. If you're being worried, frightened, afraid, and think you're going to go through this life or wherever you're going, unimposed or, you know, untouched or whatever, you got the next thing coming. It's not possible. You're going to experience all of those things that you're occupying, especially if you're occupying them for a lengthy period of time. You cannot plant corn and get apple. You can't plant guinea and get mango. Nature shows you how the mind works. Nature is exact. I posted a video this morning about that. The natural world does not care where you plant. That's exactly what you're going to get. It is telling you, because all the natural world really does is reflects the number of different states of being, states of awareness, of consciousness. That's all it really does. All things that's on this planet is made of the same things, atoms. You understand? Everything is made of the same thing. All things presented are made of the same thing, consciousness, just different arrangements of it. All things that you see in nature are made of atoms, there's different arrangements of it, whether it be big, small, light, heavy, doesn't matter. All made of the same thing, but different arrangements of the same thing. And so nature is only showing you in a physical state what consciousness is. You understand? In its dormant state. In other words, everything lives in consciousness, but all those things that are in consciousness, they are dormant until they are called forth. They live in consciousness, but they are not active. Okay? They're asleep, as in dormant. Okay? They're residing in quiet in silence. But in any day you feel the urge of a particular state that is within you, who is consciousness, you are calling it forth. You're giving it resurrection and you're giving it life. Okay? So if you are aware that this is how consciousness works, then why would we be worried or concerned when external facts show otherwise? Why would we be concerned when external facts show otherwise when you know that you are the resurrection and the life? You know, we're just in a vessel. Consciousness is just in a vessel. You understand? Carrying consciousness around. We're just in a vessel, you know. This is conscious. This vessel is the clothing. Just like when you put on your clothes in your closet. Wherever you go, the clothes go with you. So, in essence, the body is not um what them say. You have a soul. The body has a soul. No, it's the other way around. The soul has a body. Scripture tells you that you are wearing a garment dripped in blood or drenched in blood, something like that. You're wearing a garment drenched in blood. This garment right here, full of blood, and you, consciousness, is wearing it. And so therefore, you know, you have to start perceiving yourself only as simply consciousness. You are not the body, okay? You are the awareness of being. You are not the experience. You are not the desires. You are not the states. You are the awareness who is aware of these states, who is aware of the desires. You know, when you start to change that concept of yourself and start to see yourself as this primordial being, this ancient, um, you know, super conscious, universal awareness. When you start to see yourself as that, you start to operate in that sense because you are rearranging the conception that you had of yourself all these years, all these times. You're going to have a tug of war internally because you've been wearing this old concept of yourself, the old man, for so long that now when the new man comes, um, you are still trying to put, what them say, old wine in new bottles and old patches on new garment. You're still trying to um operate the same in the same old fashion. You have to change your state. You have to die to the old concept of yourself and live to the new or resurrect the new. You cannot resurrect the new until you die to the old self, the old you. That part of you has to be buried. Only way to move forward into the new, conception of yourself, you know. That's the only way you're going to resurrect the new self is you have to first die to the old. The story tells you when Jesus in the crucifixion story died, you understand? And then was resurrected. And when he was resurrected, you know, um, people still didn't believe, as I said earlier with doubting Thomas, still never believe. Still asking to show me the Father, all these different things. It is telling you that just having this human experience, you're still going to have doubts. You're still going to have challenges, um, belief issues. Your faith is going to be challenged. Um, it's going to be rocky sometimes. That's why you have to become Peter, the unmovable one. You have to hurry up and discipline your sense of hearing, because that's the first defense, the first gate that is opened. This is why the news, which is regular acronym for North, East, West, and South, if you look at the dynamics of it, it covers all the directions on the globe. North, East, West, and South. Okay, that's what the news stand for. It encompasses everywhere, the whole thing. No one is, you know, no one is free from it, or exempt from it. Everybody is subjected to it, but that's okay. Though you be subjected to it, you don't have to subscribe to it. That's the difference. And if you're subscribed to it, unsubscribe. Now that we do. Subscribe to things and unsubscribe to it. It's the same thing, Same thing, no difference. Except we're doing this in consciousness. So we have to learn to realign our former self, our former self, and become anew, become, the new man. And scripture tells you that you cannot enter the kingdom as you are. You have to become a child again. A child is the first part of you that comes into this world, brand new. You have to become new again. You have to be born again. You can't continue with the old man, with the old conception of yourself, thinking that you're the flesh, you're a human being, and all this stuff. You're a being who's acting human. Your existence as human is only possible because you, as consciousness, as this being, is aware of being human. And like I said earlier, I and my father, I the flesh, and my father consciousness are one, but the father consciousness is greater than the flesh. I'm just being this particular state. That's why I, the flesh, who might be conscious of a particular feeling or whatever, or experience, you know, I can create that. I can call it forth because I can be anything I want to be. I can be this flesh, I can be the water bottle, I can be this computer, I can be whatever I desire to be, and have them all in one room having the experience. They don't have to be one at a time. I can have all these experiences, you know, all at the same time. But how dynamic is that? All of these things are made of consciousness and by consciousness and nothing else, you know. It is a great awareness, a great feeling um to know and to understand or understand. So we do this every Sunday, just so that we can oh, sorry, to look like you drop off again. We do this every Sunday so that we can, transform, our minds, transform our former concept of ourselves. We are realigning, reshaping. We are going back to the beginning, you know. We're returning to what we were before we decide to become ignorant or a state of amnesia of who we are. Because we knew the only way to have an experience is to lose our sense of awareness of who we truly are. That's just how it is coming into this world. That's how it had to be. You have to lose sense of who you are to go back. You have to be lost so that you can find your way. You understand? That's just how it works. And everyone is finding their way one at a time, not all at the same time, one at a time. Okay? You're finding your way. You're returning to the origin. And how interesting is you're returning there only in your awareness, not in no physical expected way. You're not going back there in a physical form or whatever. It's all internal, it's all mental, it's all mind. You're going back just simply by becoming aware. As soon as you become aware, you are one with your memory, you know, you're one with who you've always been. And then once you activate that state, you now operate while still here, while being still having the experience, still being human, you now operate from a state of control, a complete state of awareness. You're still gonna have your desires, I mean your days where your desires are so-called um hard and not met or taking a while and all these different things. You're still gonna have those experiences, those days. But y- you would be aware that you're the cause of it. It's not coming because you are the cause of it. You are always the cause of it coming or not coming. You can never blame something else or someone else. And that's always has to be uh, um, something mindful. You have to be mindful about that. Because the minute you lose mindfulness, that so it's I'm just bad lucky or I'm just, not deserving or whatever it is you might say or used to say to yourself. Um, you have, you are going back to the old, you know, you're losing sight, you're not staying connected. So you have to always understand that this is important to always accept um that you are the cause. Doesn't mean that you are going to be willing to accept it, or you're going to be, very, I would say, eager to accept it and stuff like that. You're not going to be in some cases, but just being aware is all that's necessary. You're not going to like the feeling or like what's going on, but just being aware that somehow, somewhere, you're the cause of it. Um, will get you out of it sooner than later. I do it all the time, trust me. Just becoming aware, it will dissolve the situation sooner than later. It's going to be dissolving now, but it's going to be later if you don't hurry up and accept that you are the cause. Don't care what it is, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. You are always going to be at the forefront of the reason why, because as when him Reverend Ike would say, when he was having some issue with somebody, he would say, "What's wrong with me today?" You know, I would also say, "Everyone you see is you. Everyone you see is you bearing witness of you, bearing witness of your consciousness. Every experience that you get into, um, and you can check it. You can see when you have the experience. You can go back and look in your mind to see when you had that feeling, or what feeling are you having now, or what feeling were you having yesterday, earlier today, last week, last month, a year ago. Um, you can see the correlation, you know. Um, so there's always a correlation. You just don't always recognize it, always feel it or see it. Um, but again, that does not matter. That doesn't change anything. You have to discipline the mind to accept. I'm telling you, the sooner you accept is the sooner whatever it is dissolved. You don't have to figure out how it's going to be dissolved. It only requires acceptance. That is really, really all it requires. It's amazing. That's all it requires is accepting it. And the thing that's dissolved just like that. Could be minutes, hours, or days. You understand? But the sooner you do it, the sooner it's gone. The sooner you will have some experiences that will um, show, that everything is well. So again, today we're talking about you know that truth need not conform to external facts. Okay, it need not conform to anything that's outward. In other words, you don't need to start forming your opinion or your belief on what's going on right now. We have some things going on right now in the world. You don't need to conform to that, as that is your reality. It is a reality, but it's not your reality, as long as you don't conform to it. You know, I don't care what's going on. Do not conform to it, because to conform to it means to take the state as real. And I remember, as we teach here, the states they're not real. If they were real, you couldn't change them. It would be fixed, you know, unchangeable. So nothing is real. They're only appearing because of the world's consciousness of these states. You understand? And most of the state of these experiences or whatever is going on, they are subconscious. These are states that were created subconsciously, or was programmed into our subconscious mind. So every now and then you're going to have these things, pop up, because within our subconscious mind, they are there. These states are there in our subconscious, and every now and then, based on how everyone is, what feeling or states of being that we're occupying, either knowingly or unknowingly, most of the time unknowingly. These are the things that happen. Something must come about to, display what's going on behind the curtains, being that you're, within your consciousness, unseen. That's all a display. But the minute you see this thing displayed, if everyone was really aware that we're the cause, that I am the cause, then it would be easily just as sudden as it comes, is the same quickness is going to leave because you're suddenly aware, that hey, this is I'm the cause. I'm the reason why this is going on right now. And eventually it will disappear. But the longer you're in the state that that has this, the feeling, if you're as long as you're feeling the so-called effects of what's going on, is the longer you're going to give it life because you are the resurrection and the life of all things. You're going to keep this thing that whatever is going on alive longer than it needs to be, you know. So what can you do in your own world, in your own experience? You turn away from it. And while it's going on, while everything is going on, it will not affect you. It won't affect you. To show you how much I'm practicing not even being aware of these things. I was completely oblivious to the so-called war when it started and where it started and all this foolishness. I was not even aware of that. Now, why is that? Why didn't I become aware of that stuff? Why did I not know or hear? I eventually heard, but why I never know initially? Because I don't carry that vibration. So I'm not going to know. I don't carry that vibration. Like it's a need to know, you know? I don't get entangled with politics and all this foolishness. Not in that way, anyways, you know? So my consciousness is like what them call it, the algorithm. Whatever you're viewing all the time, that's what you're going to see all the time on your phone. That's your consciousness work the same way. Whatever you're conscious of or conscious of being, that's what you're going to see. And what you're least conscious of, you will eventually see it, but not in the same sense, the same magnitude. It will not affect you in any way. It will not become something that is dire and detrimental. You know, you will see it as just an experience, and it will pass away the sooner you take your consciousness away from it. The less attention you pay to it. Like I said earlier, your attention, is what you spend. It is your currency, and energy flows where attention goes. So the less attention you spend or pay to this thing, is the sooner it's going to go because your energy will not keep it alive. And if anything, it will not keep it alive in your world, meaning that whatever, what do I call it now, whatever, adversities that are to come, that may come from this, it will not affect you. And even if it does or did, it will be short-lived. You see, if it does affect you, it's because your awareness. How about that? What is this foolishness that just popped up? Oh my goodness. If it does come to you, does affect you in some way, it is because your attention was to that point, to where it reached you. And then as soon as it leaves, or whatever the case may be, is because your attention was to that length or that extent. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. You know, if it doesn't come to stay, it's because your attention was not that magnified to it. It was short-lived. But the longer you pay attention to these things, I'm telling you, if and when they come to affect you, they're going to stay the same length of time that you paid attention to it. That said, if you are aware, and like I said, to accept whatever comes to you is coming through you and is caused by you, you can still cut it short once you become aware, once you accept the truth that you are the resurrection and the life. You resurrected it and you gave it life. And it's only going to live as long as you are conscious of it or give it attention. So if it comes, you turn your attention away from it. I realize what's going on. I see everything going on. I hear it, but I don't attend to it. I don't entertain it. The word entertain means to keep it within. Entertain is really entertain, the same word. That's what they call it, entertainment, because it's a feeling that it gives you within. It's something that, consumes you, the feeling. All these, covert ways that they spell words or convey the message are all intentional and directional at a particular, what do I call it now, demographics or race or, you know, what I say now, um, depending on lifestyles and all these different type of things, everything has a purpose, where these things are directed. But you initially have the utmost control of these things. It does not matter what's going on. It doesn't matter about the facts, you know. Do not conform to these facts. These things will not change your desires. Whatever it is that you desired, whatever is going on the outside will not change it unless you allow it to. Unless you start paying attention to these things, you will put your desire now on the back burner. It's getting paid less attention because your attention is the currency that transfers the energy to your desire. Once you stop transferring that energy to your desire and start to pay other things which are contrary or adverse to your thing desire, you're going to give that life. You're taking life away from your desire and putting it onto the thing that contradicts your desire, you know? Um, this is because I remember 2001 when we had the situation with the towers in New York. On that day, I was scheduled to sign um, the contract to build my house, my first house at the time. I was, getting ready to sign the contract, and I was scheduled to meet with the guy. I think about 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening after work. But this particular instance or circumstance with the Twin Towers that happened around 8:30 in the morning. So that could have triggered me to say, you know what? I'm not bother, The world is coming to an end. Because I used to believe that nonsense. I could have gone to that subconscious belief that was within me for some time when I was younger. That seat there, this is what the Bible was talking about. What is it, 2001? True. The world is coming to an end. They did say it was going to come to an end in 2000. I could have been saying all these nonsense to my mind. But because I had severed that foolishness years prior, so much so that when 2000 came or was coming with this Y2K foolishness, I gave it no attention whatsoever. Zero. That didn't bother me one bit. As a matter of fact, if anything, I said, well, if the world comes to an end, it ends. What the hell? Um, I don't know when I was born. I wasn't aware of it. And the day that I die, I will not be aware of it either. You understand? It's like going to sleep. You know where when you fall asleep, you're just asleep. You don't know until you wake back up. So what's the difference? That's how I treated it. Never bothered me one bit. You understand? I wasn't up till midnight, 12 o'clock, midnight, 1999 to see what was going to happen in 2000 when the year come in. I celebrated it just like any day. Happy New Year. Let's go. Never worry about it. But at the same time, in Jamaica, everybody was getting baptized like them idiot on that night, that day, that week, that month. Everybody getting baptized because we were convinced that the world was going to come to an end as we were programmed to believe. So a lot of people were getting right with God, as them say. Cannot be that convenient, guys. You can't just do all kind of evil and then at the last minute you ask for forgiveness. It don't work like that. Okay? It don't work so. There's always a consequence. All right? So I never paid no mind. So when fast forward 9 months later, this thing happened with the Twin Towers, you know. Um, I never revert to that, seeing the world coming to an end. I just went ahead with my day and went to the guy and signed the paperwork, and that was it. Never entertained it one bit. All right. Never came to my mind the world was coming to an end. And my house was built 9 months later. So it didn't change a thing. But if I had in any instance entertained that feeling, that thought over and over and over and over. Oh yes. The world would have come to an end, but not the world, my world. Something would have transpired or happened because I would have conspired uh, unknowingly with some incident, some instance in which that would be the case. I didn't even know what I know now, but innately, because of the books I was reading and the people I was hanging around for some time prior to that, I believe that's what helped my mind. That's how I got away from this nonsense from 1996 when I started reading books. It changed my perception of life. Thank God, goodness. I would say thank God, but thank goodness that it opened my mind to other things, the things I was reading, the things I was hearing, the people I was around. They never talk like that, believe like that. So I garnered that feeling, that emotion, that sense of awareness. And so I lost, you know, those belief in those foolishness, prior to that even happening. And so I when that happened, like I said, I was not aware of anything what we're talking about today in that sense, but you don't have to be aware of it. You're always operating the law, whether you know it or not. and I was just operating the law in the right way I was supposed to. So good things happen for me. You understand? And for those who did not operate it the right way, bad things happen for them. It's as simple as that. Sorry, T. Oh, yes, T.
When you're trying to find the microphone there. Yes, greetings everyone. As you just mentioned right now, you were just operating the law, and the law is impartial. Everything that we call the Lord is really the law. It's really a law, an impartial law of consciousness, an impartial law that governs all things. It is the same thing that governs nature. It's the same thing that governs consciousness. It's the same thing that governs everything. Everything is governed by an all-enduring law. The law is eternal. It has always been that way. It will never be any other way. And that's how we function. That's how we've always functioned. That's how the universe stays in orbit. That's how everything happens. That's what causes the thing that goes around to come back around. It is all functional under a law. And now that we have found the law, it is incumbent upon us to operate the law for our benefit, not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of the consciousness, for the benefit of life itself. We are not here to short circuit, anything. We are here to take advantage of this law that we have found. Neville has a tip that he talks about the law and the promise. And the law is simple enough. Be not deceived. The God, which is the law, is not mocked. And here is the law: whatsoever a man sow, that shall he reap. That is the law. The law is what you put out, you get back in. And the promise is 100% loyal to the law. The promise is that it will always be that way. It will never be any other way. It has never been any other way. All right, so we were operating ignorant. We were always using the law, using it ignorantly. But now that we are aware of the existence and function of this law, it is upon us, to operate it to our benefit. It all begins with inner emotions, inner thoughts, everything begins within it. Everything starts with an inside job. So what you're feeling inside is what you're going to end up putting on the outside. And what you put on the outside is what's going to come back to you. It is as simple as that. Well, it sounds simple because knowing it is one thing, but doing it is another thing.
Yeah.
Because you can know it and not do it.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled into thinking because you know this thing, then it's going to automatically work for you. It have no sympathy. The law does not have any sympathy. Neither does it have any grant any favors.
Be he doers of the word.
Right, not just hearers. I found myself in recent times doing other than what I know. I've caught myself doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a good thing when you catch yourself doing it, because at least you are aware that this is what I know. This is what I know the law to be. But what I'm doing here right now is not in alignment with the law, or not in alignment with what I am trying to accomplish from this law. All right. Scripture said, "Let the word of our mouth," and so the word of your mouth is physical thing where you put out there, and the meditation of the mind, that is the things where you think without even saying it. Let those be in alignment. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my mind be acceptable in the sight of the thing that you're trying to accomplish. Let it be in alignment. You can't be walking west trying to get east. You can't be walking west trying to get east. It's pointless. So now that we know these things, do not deceive yourself into thinking it can work any other way. It's like religion. Religious people think that, well, it is against the tenets of my religion for me to have sex outside of marriage. But if pastor and another church brother or sister them not see me, they can just go and do it. And you think you'll get way. In religion that will work. It work for a lot of people in religion. It used to work for me when they didn't have religion. Not just the sex outside of marriage thing. I'm just talking all kind of nonsense that is against your church. And you still do it. When me go to church, if me feel for me bonus split, see me and nobody business. No, me nah make nobody see me. But in consciousness, in the world of consciousness, if you do what you know you're not supposed to do, you better know that it's gonna work adversely. It's gonna work against you. In religion, if you do it, as long as nobody does see you, you get well. In religion, anything where you do, as long as nobody don't see you, you get well. In the world of consciousness, you do not get away with anything. That's why it starts by saying, be not deceived. Meaning, don't perish the thought that you think you can get away with it. You cannot get away with it. So you might as well align yourself with the thing and work with it. And if when you catch yourself slipping, start over again. Choose again when you catch yourself slipping, because you can't get away. You cannot get away. Laws cannot be broken. Repeat that to yourself as many times as possible until you are convinced of it. Laws cannot be broken. And this is the whole thing is operated under law. You trying to break that law, you're just breaking yourself. Don't fool yourself. Circles.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sir T. That was definitely profound. And rightly so, rightly true. We looked at a tape some time ago. I think I posted in the room. It says 9 billion gods. And it's true. Because each of us is creating our own God, meaning that what we believe that our God will accept. And you know why our God accept that? Because we consciously accept it. So I'm going to say my church at the right church because in his own mind he's convinced that he accepts that church.
As that God is bound to do and accept what that man wants him to do.
Yeah.
And the man operate the God and the God operate the man.
No.
It's the man. All right. I've always used my cousin as an example. One of the most loyal Christians I know. A female cousin of mine. And I was listening to an interview with Vibes Cartel a couple of days ago. And Vibes Cartel keep talking about God is the greatest and how when him in a prison, he make a commitment to God. And I'm thinking to myself, so all these things that Vibes Cartel come out and still do. All these things that he come out and him still do. So you want to tell me, Vibes Cartel God cannot be the same God as Sister Janet.
No, it's a different God.
The same God. This girl showed to fear God. But listen to me, if Christianity put people in heaven, that girl is sure if we go. Because from we are teenagers, that girl has committed her life to that word Christianity thing. Not faithfully, because I've seen her slip up, but she has never given up. I've seen her slip up, but she has never given up.
Yeah.
Now, how can Vibes Cartel kill when you feel kill, come back out, keep all kind of party all over the place, drink and do all kind of thing and have a million girl and do everything going to and he must say, him God I greatest. Can't be the same God like for the daughter they got. They all have their own gods.
Yeah.
And Cartel is right, him God I greatest. Everybody God is the greatest. My God is the law of consciousness. And that is the greatest. That is my God. My God is the law of consciousness.
9 billion gods. That's true. So for each person that is representing that is in this world is representing a particular belief or a particular program that we've been aligned with, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. You understand? So whatever belief we hold of ourselves or of the world and stuff like that, that is you operating that particular part of consciousness, which is in essence your God. It's like your house. you operate the light and the water differently than the other person operating their light and water, but it's coming from the same source, you know. But we all have a different outcome. We all have a different light bill, different water bill, different usage.
Progress.
Mm.
Have you ever like a scroll through TikTok or any part of my social media on Facebook and see them Jamaican girl they post them on either? The what them call them? The digital creators them will put out things out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah, oh yeah.
famous one them. They
Oh
always
yeah, I
and
see
they
that.
posting them on either. And if one of them are Christian, you know. That's how if one of them are Christian, then you hear them, my God, don't play about me. It's all right because my God. And they all so here we have Christians, two different Christians. They both love Jesus, but they both hate each other.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how can that ever make any sense? They both love Jesus, who none of them don't know, never met. And they both hate each other. And sometimes the two hate each other, sometimes they're cousin, sometimes they're sister, sometimes they used to be best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And now they hate each other, but the two are not love one Jesus or whatever. And the two are not Christian.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't want to be no Christian, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So when you become aware of the truth that consciousness is the only reality, consciousness is the resurrection and the life, and you realize that everybody is using it just in their own way, whether they know or they don't know, whether you are Buddha, Krishna, whether you believe in whether you are a Muslim or a Christian or whatever, everybody is operating the law. The law is simply, you know, acting upon your state of being. If you believe say what you do is good, then the law is going to make it so. You understand? The law is going to make it so, yeah, man. If you desire to do some evil, any manner of evil, the law is compelled to do it because you're the operator, you're the operant power of this law. But if consequences that are adverse comes with the outcome, then you will experience those too. You understand? So so this is why you cannot escape the law. You can't escape it because it works based on how you work it. Yeah, man. It work. If you tell a man hi, good morning, and the man begs all day, and you tell him hi, good morning with a smile, him smile back at you because you operate the law with love, with with some kind of empathy. You understand me? I said, and so, but somebody else comes and says to him, say, every time you see your face makeup, yeah, idiot, you can't smile. The man get worse and mad now. So, good I'll lick it down with something because you're coming with a different way operating the law. You understand? Which triggers, some particular subconscious reaction from that individual. So we're all operating the law, um, and we're making the operation of that law, our personal God, our personal savior or destroyer. One of the two. Yeah, it's your personal savior or destroyer, because you are the one personally operating it. Okay? And because it's consciousness and it's connected to everyone, the way you operate in this law will bring others into your world or into your experience to carry out the thing you operate in your own mind. That's what tells you that the law is one. Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. The law, consciousness,
One. Yeah, that's what it said.
is,
The
is
Lord is
one.
one.
Yeah. Hear ye, O Israel, hear ye, O everyone, everybody using the law. The law is one. So therefore, whatever you think or believe, you're going to encounter an individual who thinks and believe the same thing as you. Can't fail. If you start think about go rob one bank and money now run and want to see me can't find a way to go rob some people and ray. If you persist in that mindset long enough, you're gonna run into people who come to you ready, have the gun, have the money, or whatever they need to carry it out. And there you have it. You have just now called forth, resurrected what was laying dormant within you and called it to life. Somebody came and played a part. That's how you know that it is. There's not many of us in this world. There's only one operating as the many. That's how you know. Because how else would it happen? How else would it happen? Why would somebody come and play a part that you desire if that person was not you and you're not that person?
One glass drop and broke up in a splinter out into many fragments.
One glass, yeah, many pieces to the one thing. Yeah, all connected.
That's why no man is an island. Because you're just a piece of what used to be a whole by yourself. No
Yeah,
man is an island, but
no man stands
together,
alone.
we are the world.
Mm. See it there?
Together we are the world, but no man individually is an island because he's
Yeah,
just a splinter of what used to be a whole.
yeah, speck
That's what
of
it is.
the whole, a puzzle, piece of the puzzle, you know? It all comes back to being one and makes sense when it returns, you know? And that is just the awareness we are coming to and have come to. And but man, um, great lesson today, and this book, Never Goddard's interpretation of scripture. It is a wonderful book. Um, if you guys really want to know what these scriptures really mean or the interpretation of them, this book right here will help you to analyze and interpret them or get the right, feedback from what they were intended to be in the first place and not as we've been misled to believe. Scripture tells you that Jesus only spoke in parables, and without parables, spake he not. Never talk unless it was in parables. What are parables? Parables, he spoke in parables for the ones who don't understand, for them to not understand until you are awakened. Only spoke in parable for the ones who didn't understand until they were awakened to the point where they could. Never spoke clearly because you cannot wake to something that requires interpretation if it is spoken straight. You're not going to wake up. You're not going to look into yourself. As I'm saying, I have to look into myself. I have to go deep. I have to think. I have to, meditate, contemplate. That's you going within. That's you going deep until you rise to the awareness of the thing you're contemplating. So if it is given to you straight, you're not going to awake. You're going to fall asleep. You have to get something that causes your consciousness to rethink, imagine, you know, contemplate, meditate on the thing until the hidden truth, the beneath the surface level of the thing comes to the surface. The top part of it is a veil. A parable is just a veil, hiding within it the truth. And we're talking about the truth today. The truth needs not conform to external facts to which it may relate. It may relate in terms of, you know, yeah, man, just lose my job, money low, all type of stuff. Yeah, it's relating. Yeah, it's factual. I relate to it. I see it. But your truth is not that. Your truth is your awareness of being. Your truth is what you are aware of, what you desire. That's what you are aware of being. And because you being awareness is the resurrection and the life, you can die to or sever the thing that is so-called fact right now because you gave life to it. You were the one that gave life to the thing that is factual in your life right now. Are you still give life to it? You're the one that called it forth. So if you gave it life, you can take it away. You understand? And then give life to this to the thing that's going to save you from the thing that you're now experiencing. So this is why we say the truth need not conform your desire, your savior. The thing is that is to save you need not to conform to the external facts that has just now presented itself. Because you caused those external facts in the first place. So you can undo it by doing what you that would set you free from that, from what you caused. It's really that simple. Is it easy? No, but it's that simple. Okay? And so that's what we're talking about today. To cease from accepting any external outcome that is contrary to your desire, that is appear to be an impediment, appear to be something that's not going to work at the moment with your desire. Perish that thought that that has any bearing on your desire. It has none whatsoever because you are the resurrection and the life. Not no God in the sky, not Jesus who died on the cross for you, not some God they say created the world from in 7 days or 6 days and spoke it into being. No, no, not that God. When you read the Bible, you are the writer. The reader is the one who's speaking to yourself. All right? Everything you read in the Bible is addressed to you. All right? Read it from that perspective. When the part of it says I um you know when it says you say I the Lord or I am that I am. This is you saying that to yourself. This is you the reader. Okay? Everything you read is addressed to you. You're speaking in first person. All of it is first person. Every bit of it. You are all the characters you're reading about. All of them. Jesus, Moses, Adam, Eve, everybody. Noah and his three sons and their wives. All of them are you. Lot's wife are you. Lot is you. Abraham is you. Sarah is you. Isaac, Jacob, Esau, everybody you read about is you. First person. But it is showing you how you, consciousness, operate at times in ignorance, not knowing who you are, and in knowledge of who you are. The Old Testament is you acting in ignorance, the old man. That's why it's called the Old Testament, the old mind. That's what it means. You don't know what you don't know. That's why in the Old Testament, pure war, pure evil, pure killing, because you're working from the conscious mind. You can't fix it, so you try to force it. You try to will it. Okay? Everything is in anger. You destroy the world, all these different things. Never was saying on the tape that the flood is you flooding your minds with facts. You know, you're flooding your mind with facts that this not going to work, that not going to work. But when you get to the New Testament, the new mind, you see how the New Testament is different from the old. Who started the New Testament? This Jesus character. The Jesus character start the New Testament. The New Testament is the new mind, the subconscious mind becoming awake. It was asleep because the conscious mind was always awake and operating only from the conscious state of mind. But now when you start the operation from the subconscious, meaning that the mind that is aware of the Father, the mind that is aware of the superconscious, the mind that is one with the superconscious and works on your behalf, on the conscious mind's behalf. The conscious mind is the mind that desires, the mind of knowledge. You understand? When you become aware of that, that in the subconscious and the Father, the superconscious, communicates on the behalf of the conscious mind. That the conscious mind has no power whatsoever to bring anything into being. That is the same as a man thinking that he can have a child. A man carries a child, the sperm, but cannot have the child. So he gives it to the woman, the subconscious, okay, to bring it into being. Perish the thought a man can never have a baby. Will never happen. But if he knows that the woman can have the baby, then he will give it to her for her to carry his desire to fruition. It's as simple as that. Nature shows you how the mind works when it is worked in that order. But because we think nature and the mind are different, we don't know. It's the same thing. It's just that nature is operating from a state of pure alignment. None of it is out of alignment. It is all in alignment. And if it ever falls out of alignment, a man do it. We're the one that interfere with it. But when left as pure and natural, it operates seamlessly. No problem. Okay? Our mind is the same thing as nature. All right? But we have forgotten the order in which it is supposed to work. The conscious mind is the seed that must be planted into the subconscious. Okay? Not the other way around. The seed cannot grow itself. It has to be put into the soil, into the womb. All right? And then it will grow. It's the same way we work. So there's no need to force anything. It's not going to come to fruition in your time in terms of the conscious mind expectation. It will come, as them say, in God's time. What is that? The sooner you surrender trying to do it, is the sooner it will come. That is God's time. You surrendering, trying to force it, trying to make it happen and plant it into the soil. A tree only comes after it has reached the germination state for it to, come out of the ground. So that is the God's time we're talking about there. It can't come no sooner than that. But it will not come until the seed is planted. That has to happen first. You understand? It's the same thing with your desires. We have to let them go. Here's a seed, let it go into the ground. That's you letting go of your trying to condition or trying to force how your desire is going to come to fruition, how it's going to come to life. You give it life by letting it go into the soil, putting it into the subconscious. That is the life giver. It's one consciousness, but there are subdivisions of the consciousness. One room, one big old building with many different rooms within it. Sub-departments, sub-compartments. You understand? But it's all one building, one house with different sections. The kitchen, the bathroom, the living room, the bedroom, all these different things. But we're all operating under one consciousness. In a different, it's the same one thing, we're just different operations within itself. But we find ourselves trying to do it all at the same, all at one aspect of the mind, trying to do, it's like you're trying to bathe in your the bathroom, trying to cook in the bathroom, trying to sleep in the bathroom, trying to do everything from there. The bathroom is for the bathroom, for you to bathe and do your number two or whatever. You understand? That's what its purpose is for. The bedroom is just for you to sleep, the kitchen is for you to eat. Everything has its place, but it's under one roof, one umbrella. We were not told that our conscious mind is only to desire things, not to bring the desires to fruition, not to figure it out, not to ask how it's going to happen. You don't plant a seed and ask the ground how it's going to grow. You just plant the seed. Your mind, your consciousness, your awareness is the same thing, no different. We've just been misled, misconstrued, and you know, misprogrammed to operate incorrectly. I know when we're telling the world this truth, they reject it, just like the parable book did with the Jesus concept. They rejected everything Jesus told them. Till this day, people still don't do what Jesus had to do. Still don't do it. Even though the book tells you what to do, still don't do it. Because I believe everything they read is history. And he never spoke anything about history. Everything was mystery, mystical. Okay? Everything was psychological, spiritual. Nothing of it was a physical. And so you cannot operate from the physical plane to impress the spiritual plane. You have to worship or serve, as scripture says, in spirit and in truth. The only way you impress the spirit is to operate in spirit, not in the physical. Okay? The physical is to have the experience, not to force the experience or to create the experience. It's just to have the experience, not to create it. All right? The spirit world, the fourth, fifth dimension, and so on, is where you create from. Okay? That's where you create from. That's where you have your desires met until they become one with you in this world to have the experience. So but yeah, wonderful lesson today. Truth need not conform to external facts to which they relate or which it relates, but just to see within your own self, whatever it is that you desire, it is already a fact in yourself, within your imagination. That's the only fact. That is the only fact that exists, your imagination. Everything else is temporary. Everything else is only alive, only here because you give it life, because you are aware of it. Anything you don't desire to be anymore, cease to be aware of it. Stop giving it your attention. Your attention is your currency in which you buy things with. Okay? And the more attention you pay to something, is the more you're going to get it. So pay attention to the thing you desire and stop paying attention to the thing you do not desire. It is really that simple. Okay? It's not rocket science. It's really that simple. All right? So thank you all. It's 12:30 now. Kind of went over a little bit, but had to get this lesson, affirmed into our psyche so that we can further, understand and operate, from the right space or right state of mind going forward. So love you guys. Have a happy rest of your Sunday and the rest of your week. And we'll be back next week with another lesson of awareness on how to, you know, attain all of our desires and attain them, quickly. All right. So see you guys next week. Love you.